Welcome everyone to the Island Life Podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I will be your guide. And joining us on this special two-person adventure is our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan, who just finished his 5th season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
How's it going, folks? Good to be here, Will.
Yes, so we're back for some season 46 action. A little behind the curtain here. Right now we have a lot of things juggling. We got 46 obviously happening, which we rushed through the Bhanu saga last time. We got season 49 happening in the background. We got another season after this kind of in the pipeline. So a lot of survivors on the mind lately. Let me ask you this. After watching these two episodes, Bhanu free episodes, by the way, did you find yourself enjoying season 46 with Bhanu or season 46 without Bhanu more?
It definitely gives a different vibe to the entire season with or without him. With him, there's a comedic element to it that gets taken away. And without him, it's, for the tribe, they're missing a member, but part of that comedy also gets thrown away, and they're a little bit more serious in terms of approaching the game. We see a lot more strategy over these two episodes, so that's one aspect that I did appreciate. And while that first saga is the Bhanu saga, I would like to quickly think, at least with these next two episodes, it becomes the start of the comeback saga for the Yanu tribe. The way that they conclude the previous episode, they're thinking that, okay, we're going in strong now. We have less people, but we're more efficient with the people that we have. And I think going back to the question with Bhanu in the Yanu tribe, there's not a lot of strategy. It's just more things being handled emotionally, not a lot of thought in terms of how we're approaching things. And obviously that comes into play in the challenges. So for me, I do, if I was to have a preference, I do like that we're getting back into like a regular form of Survivor. I think he was a nice contestant to see in terms of, how he had some scenes, how he was honest and upfront about certain things. But like I was saying previously when we were talking about Bhanu, that it just seems like he's in the wrong show. Like he's not someone who should be in Survivor. If there's another show where that honesty, the emotional nature, the being upfront about things is of importance, then there's other shows for him where he could capitalize on that rather than doing that in Survivor, because that is definitely a weakness in his game.
Yeah, a big part of my enjoyment of the show is when we get to laugh at someone trying to play the game and it not working out for them.
Yeah.
And it's not the same effect when it's someone who is not trying to play and it's not working out for them. That's not as enjoyable and I feel that's what was happening with Bhanu. So now that we're left, I mean, there are plenty of other people to direct our laughter and criticism towards. So I'm excited to get into that. But we're gonna go. We're gonna try to go as chronologically as possible, which is usually how we handle previous seasons compared to live season.
Right.
And we start with episode 5, which was called Tiki Man, and it's the aftermath of the Yanu Tribal Council. And essentially, the story that we're painted is there's some relief that now he's gone, but the three of them, Q, Kenzie, and Tiffany, they're all realizing if this happens one more time, now it's no longer going to be an obvious vote, because like for like several days it was pretty clear who the target would be, and we kind of see. Did you get the impression that any of them were in the middle, or is it like one of those things where like each of them would target a different person if it came to it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Tiffany for me really stuck out. She is in the middle. and Q and Kenzie, if it came to it, they would be voting each other out. I think it really goes to Tiff and who she would vote for. And if I'm not mistaken, she herself was talking about that during one of her sequences. And for her, I think that's a harder vote because she doesn't have a more committed number one. She does like it seems like, at least to us, that she does like both Kenzie and Q equally because she spends equal times roughly with both of them. She has one-on-ones with both of them with the other person missing. And she's able to have good dialogue with both of them. You know, it seems like there's a connection with either of them. With Q and Kenzie, I do feel like while yes, they are inclined to working together compared to the other tribe members who were eliminated, there is still a rift there that I don't see that they have with Tiffany. So I think to me, it would depend on how they would lose their next challenge, but I think this is an easier vote for Q and Kenzie respectfully compared to Tiffany.
Yeah, probably a nice place to be. Like, obviously, like if that were to have played out, then you're safe as Tiffany. I mean, that's nice. I mean, you are betraying somebody, but it'd be like what we actually just recently saw in season 49, where it's if it's only 3 people going to tribal, and they're all eligible to be voted for, it creates this like standoff situation, and the best position to be is someone who's in the middle when you hope the other
Yeah.
two wouldn't turn on you. So they're all talking about that.
Yeah, nice
Um,
parallel. Nice call out there. I think the one difference with this one at least lies in the fact that the one person within the group who does have the advantage is the person in the middle. Whereas I would say
exactly.
for
Yeah.
season 49, Alex was not in the middle. He would have gotten voted out if he did not have the advantage.
Now moving off from Yanu, so we then see Siga, and it's kind of I mean, so much of the attention is to put on Yanu that we haven't really seen lots and lots of the other 2 tribes, but we've seen, like, a little bit,
Yep.
but now these 2 episodes we get to flesh it in. So we see that Ben and Charlie continue their own relationship, and actually we even get to see that Ben and Tim are they seem to have a connection too. Um, and we kind of get this girls versus guys story begin to form, and we don't know what's going to matter yet, but we start, that's who's hanging out with each other. And this is when we get to talk about Jem. Jem, who's just so happy that all of her plans have worked just as she wanted. She successfully made people go on a wild goose chase for the idol. Mission accomplished. Not sure what the mission was for, but mission accomplished.
If I was in her shoes, if I was to try to make sense of her plan, I would think that, maybe she's looking out for something. Maybe she's looking out for people's reactions in terms of a sense of desperation towards finding that beware advantage. And if she sees that maybe some people are more aggressive, maybe some people are more passive, that's when that can help her game plan in terms of how to socialize with these tribe members. But what we saw was just, I don't know what your takeaway is, Will, but it just did not seem like there was any sort of next step beyond that. It's just kind of let's create an obstacle and have these guys try to figure out a solution. Oh, and okay, they might realize that it's a meaningless goal to aim towards because for some of them, even like in previous episodes, they were already thinking that okay, like we've dug up this tree underneath this beware advantage notice, and it just seems like there's nothing here. Someone might have already gotten it. So to me, it like that strategy is it's not completely a illogical one, but it's one where the way that she handled it does seem pretty illogical in terms of like you don't necessarily see how exactly she's benefiting from that.
Okay, in terms of steps to make you win the game, do you think what Jem has done is more effective, or back to 49, what Jake the shoe thieving strategy? Which one of those 2 strategies was better for trying to win?
I I'm so glad you asked me that because I was about to ask you pretty much that question myself. Yeah, so I'd love to get your thoughts on it too. Yeah, I in my mind it is Jem's plan. I think that it has the makings of being ultimately a good plan for what I described, where like you're reading the body language of your other tribe mates just to see how they're responding to the situation. Are they really aggressive in trying to find this idol, the beware advantage? That could tell you that, okay, they're really trying to play the game. They could be a little bit more cutthroat. I might have to keep my eyes and ears peeled around them. They might be a little bit more willing to throw my name out there, right? You're just kind of making assumptions, but those are assumptions that could serve you well over the rest of the game. Whereas, Jake's strategy was just something that was just to annoy people. Like, I'm not sure what he would gain from that. Like Gem's thing was just a one and done. Like I hit it, and I left this here. Jake's was more, any opportunity I see to steal someone's shoes, I take that opportunity. And you leave yourself open to being caught when you're doing that. And it's like, how exactly are you explaining away that situation? So to me, I would say Gem had the better strategy.
Jake's strategy just it sounds more ridiculous the more we talk about it.
It
I
was just for pure fun. I would say I
I
don't
know.
even know if it was strategic component to it.
Well, yeah, and so here's my struggle. So I think if the question I asked was which one was more strategic, then I think landslide, it's Gem. But I phrased it like which is better to like win the game, and
I would
like
still say Gem. Yeah.
I think that Gems had like way was way more dangerous than um Jake's. Now Jake, I think his that with that there is absolutely nothing to be gained. Like there are no positive outcomes, but I think the negative outcomes are less likely and less um uh they're and less
Right.
massive. Gem, there are there could be an upside. Like maybe because I think what she's trying to do is like make people think that somebody who's not her has the idol and there could be some uses for it. But my
Right.
concern is that the most likely outcome of that plan is, oh no, person A has the idol. It's risky to vote for them, so we're not going to vote for them. We're going to vote for somebody else because why would I vote for the person that has the idol? And what if that person is you? Like this could like which funny enough, I don't think that's actually what happens, but
Yeah.
that's what comes to my mind at first. Like, okay, like whoever you're kind of like leaving false evidence for somebody, but that false evidence kind of like protects that person actually because now it's scary. Like if it was they have an advantage, then I think that'd be a better. But an idol,
Right.
okay, if you have an idol and I think you have an idol, but I have to either try to blindside you or or and if I do that, I risk you playing it and then somebody else could go home. That could be me.
Yeah.
So, um,
No, you're
but
absolutely
in the
right about
end,
that.
yeah, in the end, Jem has a better chance of being strategic. I just think it's important to note that her strategy, I think, is a pretty bad strategy. A bad strategy that has a chance to help a little bit, whereas Jake
Yeah.
has nothing, no, in no scenario does it help at all. So, so it's Jem.
I would I would play devil's advocate if like, if the nature of the question is just like, if you're doing what they did, it's not necessarily how they implement it, but it's like you doing it, right? If you're following the same goal of doing what Jem did, or if you're doing what Jake did, that's how, that's if you're asking that question, then I still would say that your point about her strategy being more dangerous is true, but I would say it's because of how she did it. There could have been a lot of benefits if she just reoriented the strategy. Obviously there's a lot of assumptions in play here, but hypothetically in a scenario where you're going through Gem's strategy, a way she could do it that's beneficial is like I'm describing, like, she could just read how people are trying to find that idol. But then ultimately, if you're trusting your girls group in her case, what I would do in her case is then, okay, like after like at this point, like I've told everyone that, or not, I've told everyone, someone has discovered that beware advantage. I would get together with the girls again and then just let them know that, hey, like I actually found the beware advantage and I was just doing it to get a read on everyone else. and you're having a dialogue with them to let them know that like this is a strategy that we're working on. You're still trying to keep them in, right? Like normally with beware advantages, you bring people in. And my goal is like generally it is helpful to have at least one person know. I don't want the entire tribe to know. I would rather want one person to know. If there's someone else within the group you also really trust, okay, two people. I would not want to go beyond that. And for her, she has a girls group. So I would see a potential benefit in a situation where, okay, that happened the way it happened, but then she goes back to Moriah and Maria and then has a dialogue with them and says, "Hey, I actually found the beware advantage, and let's try to work together to get this idol, and where it gives us an edge in our tribe, and we can start forcing out votes the way that we want to whenever we end up going into tribal, like whenever that happens." And I think that's a much better strategy. Like, we've seen this work before in other seasons. It's just a matter of how much do you trust your tribe? How much does your tribe trust you? And based on what we've seen, that tribe is pretty trusting of one another. Uh, the girls group too, like, they from the very beginning, if I'm not mistaken, episode 1, got together and talked about forming that girls group. So it's not like, it's just a recent group that they've been brainstorming, trying to create ideas for. It's something that's been in the works for a while. I think Jem's issue is just how she implemented it. That made it way more dangerous than it needed to be.
I see what you're saying. The execution is where it really
Yes.
went wrong. Because honestly, what would have been better? Just don't do it. Just you have a
Yeah.
beware advantage. Whether or not you tell people, you have it. And like this whole extra charade of rehiding the
Yeah,
clue so that this is so like
I agree. Like this is if you're forced to do what she did. But like
yeah.
if I'm in her shoes in the first place, no, I'm not hiding it unless like I have some like diabolical like 4D chess plan in my brain that I've concocted. But like the way that she did it, it's like you don't exactly know what her end game is there with that. So it just comes
Well,
off as
yeah,
illogical.
because you're right. This tribe is very trusting. Them and Nami to an extent, very vibes oriented. So the really bad part, not only is there suspicion that someone has found it, but it's that someone found it and tried to trick us, betraying our like vibes tribe mentality. So it's doubly,
Yeah.
and it so happens for really no good reason at all, like we talked about last time. Um, Maria and Mariah think it's Tim. So yeah, it worked out that they didn't think it was you. But what if they thought it was you? And who thinks it's you? Good old Tim. What did you think of Tim beginning his? I think in both of these episodes, he's kind of a bit of a main character. Finally, uh, he decides that he thinks he did his own reads of the situation, and he thinks Mariah is 100% responsible for all of this and has the idol, and he just goes to confront her right in front of her face.
A lot of respect for Tim there. What he did was, he read her body language. He had dialogues with the other people and he snuffed it out. And he doesn't know if what he's thinking is the truth, but based on his understanding, he's right on the money. He's right on the money and he's put in a position where he has that dialogue with Jem. And she like, she's not tight with him. So like she can't just outwardly come out and say, like, yeah, no, you're telling the truth. Like you got me. I'm the one who actually has it. I set everyone up. That's gonna make her look bad. She's gonna be the immediate next person out just based on that. So what does she have to do? She has to lie about it. And if he's already snuffing you out, if he's not finding you to be very trustworthy, and quite honestly, your actions are making you appear that way, then like, there's not much you can do. You kind of have to backpedal and figure out how to play the game. And again, like as you're describing it, it goes to my point that like she has a trusting tribe with her and she's not leveraging that. She's not leveraging the trust. She's just trying to play a solo game while trying to create a group within that game. And it just we're still early in this season. Like, you're going to need to work with people. You're going to need people to trust you. And the way that you're playing Gem, it's like you're just not helping yourself.
Yeah, no, no. Any thoughts on how Tim addressed confirming his suspicion? Because, there is a version of events where he doesn't do it this way. Like, he could have gossiped to um, Ben and Charlie first before he talked to her. He could have just never talked to her. Like, he
Right.
could have just decided, you know what? I think I'm right. I'm gonna make all without because she gets spooked by this too,
Mhm.
and that could have come back against him. It will turn out that he is not targeted, but he could have been in danger. So, any issues on how he approached it?
I think like not just this episode, part of the next episode, I think Tim's played like a good game, like observant, strategic. He's not approaching people and just like sharing things with everyone. They are the vibe tribe, so like you would assume that like okay, they might want to have open dialogues about a lot of these things if they're trusting one another, and their tribe has not even went to tribal yet, but he's still understanding that I'm in survivor. I need to be focused in how I'm approaching people. And for him, it's like, earlier in one of the previous episodes, we see him digging for like quite a long time. He's the one putting in the most effort in terms of finding the beware advantage. So what he's probably doing is reading everyone's body language, seeing how they respond. That's what he was doing, even having his dialogue with Jem. And he's like understanding that, like, okay, she's not being fully truthful with me. It's like we don't see it on camera, but for all we know, he could have been doing that with the other people too. And it's just this is one of the highlights of the episode, his interaction with Jem, where he's able to figure out that like, okay, she's not being truthful here. So his approach to it, I think, in terms of maybe having one-on-ones, part of it probably off screen that we didn't see, I think is the right move. He's not extending himself too far. He's not asking, like dangerous questions. He's just trying to have a dialogue and trying to figure out what the truth is.
Well said. So we'll see how Tim's strategy evolves as we keep going here. But we eventually get to the immunity challenge, which was called Knock One Back. This was the one where there's like this big. It's like if you went to McDonald's to see their play place because it's like a multi-story obstacle course kind of thing,
Hmm.
kind of like modular in design. So you got to climb up that and collect keys as you're going. Uh, and eventually it's gonna unlock a bag of sandbags, and then and at the end of it, you're using a slingshot to fire those sandbags and knock down the targets. Oh, and also you could win some pastries and some fruit, which is kind of nice. Um,
Yeah, especially for
and
Yanu.
well, Yano, who's won nothing and has nothing. Um, Jeff is saying that if they lose one more time, they're just like the worst to ever do it. So the
He's just
pressure's
like,
on.
yeah, just calling them out in good old Jeff fashion. But
Yep,
yeah, I
yep.
really like the setup of this challenge. The thing with the slingshot at the end too was this became a 3v3v3, obviously, because Yanu only had three people to be able to compete. So we had half the other tribes just sitting out. And what I thought was interesting was I really like challenges where they try to involve everyone, right? It's not like just one person can go and do everything for the relay, the challenge, the obstacle course, whatever Jeff is having them do by themselves. Some challenges do allow you to do that, but I appreciate the ones more where it does force everyone to have to get involved. And this was one of those challenges. So as Will's describing, you're going through from start to finish, getting the keys to unlock these like sandbags that you have to then slingshot and knock off the three targets, making it so that each person at the end has to take a shot, so no one is left behind. No one is able to just sit out and say, no one that's competing, I should say, is able to sit down and say like, okay, like that. Whoever is really good at this sort of thing, he's just knocking down all three. So I thought this was really cool. This was another one of those challenges that was looking like it went right down to the wire. Like, quite honestly, this one might have been the closest challenge in recent memory that I could think of
Well, to be
in terms
clear,
of
not for uh the Orange Tribe because they easily win. Even
Yes,
with
yes. I
even
just
with
mean
only Hunter, you know,
right.
with one.
I just mean with regards to like how it ended. Like it could have been one or
Yeah,
two
no,
tribes.
absolutely. Um,
And the thing I don't know if you remember this well, but I really appreciate the camera sequence right at the end where it
oh,
slows
the
down,
slow mo.
the slow mo, and it just focuses in on I think it was like Q's last shot.
Yep.
And that could have gone one of two ways. It's like that could have been the biggest fake out where it's like, oh, they're getting so close, but they're whiffing. And that would have just been like Jeff just made like really just piling on Yanu like it seems like he's been doing, but alas, that did not happen.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
honestly, I mean, you now know what happened next episode, but at the time, I mean, this is dire. If Yanu, I mean, we just saw what would happen if this happened, which is they would be down to 2 people if they lost this. So, uh, pressure's on, and finally they get a win. Second place, but second place is all that matters.
yeah, respectable.
Q hits that last leg shot, and that means that Siga will go to their first tribal council. And I guess like a small thing is because it was Siga specifically, like it could have been Nami that goes, and then in that case, they have lost Randon already to Medivac, so they actually would be down to 4 people if that had happened, and then it would have been 6-4-3.
Yep.
Uh, but because of this, it makes it even. So actually, kind of important. So so now we get Siga having to like scramble for tribal council for the first time, and we get the continuation of guys versus girls. We get more of suspicious on from the girls, suspicion on Tim and Ben potentially, and what it seems to be happening is there's the Moriah and Jem believe that them two and Maria, they are the core women's alliance. And then they believe that it's true that Charlie's part of them, but them three are the core. But because Charlie's with them at least a little bit, like there's no need to target him, which leaves Tim and Ben, and then they're going over the pros and cons of which one to target and which one not. Um, and then on the guy's side, we know Tim is definitely like is suspicious of Jem. Ben, I'm not sure we necessarily hear. Well, at first we don't hear his preferences. We will get to him in a second. And then Charlie's also the focus because now Charlie and Maria, them two are part of an actual like duo. They are each other's number ones right now. But both of them are kind of different minds here because I think best case for Maria is keep the 4 of them together. If she targets someone other than Ben or Tim, then she's not keeping the 4 of them together. And then
Hmm.
for Charlie, the same thing. If he targets someone other than uh um well, if he votes Ben, then he's losing Tim. If he votes Tim, he's losing Ben. I guess at least then in that case he would sell the 3 girls. If he votes one of the girls, he loses the other 2. So a lot of things, as far as you could tell, focusing on Charlie and Maria. Was there? Do you think there was a correct way to go, either for the both of them, or maybe like for each of them it's different?
I would say that for them they should work on consolidating that duo because ultimately the further you go in the game, like your tribe will cut down in numbers, and if you can form a really strong number one, that can take you a long way. So if I were in either of their shoes, I would try to work cohesively, and they both have other groups beyond just their core two. They're part of even another group mutually. So I would stick with wherever the majority lies. And this is the complicated thing here, right? Like they have been the vibe tribe. And I actually I was pondering this myself, so I had a question for you in which, I was wondering if we just hypothetically took out a idol out of their island.
Mhm,
We'll just assume no one had an idol at this
mhm.
point, no one had a beware advantage, anything like that. who would you see as the biggest threat currently at Siga?
Um, it's hard to say without they haven't had to strategize yet, but leader of the biggest alliance is Maria when you if you count Charlie's Angels as an alliance, because so that's 4
Yeah.
people, that's the majority, and then seemingly the person in charge of those 4 people is Maria. So I think, like, at this exact moment, with kind of omniscience, because I know what's going on here, you would
Mhm.
like it because we're watching on TV,
Yeah.
that'd be Maria.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like, one thing no one mentions is her being charismatic, but whenever anyone describes Ben, that is a common thing everyone says about him. So you would assume that in when you're talking about someone being a leader, that most people would point to Ben. They would see him as he's in charge, but because we're watching, we're seeing how things unfold. We see what Maria is doing behind the scenes. We see how she essentially ends up getting the advantage over I'm already forgetting that guy from episode 1 who got eliminated.
It's
Do you remember his
Jelinski,
name? Jelinski, yes. She played
the
it smart in
legend.
terms of how she essentially got him to give up his advantage. Like, I thought she did that smartly. So I would, for me, it's like that's such a difficult question to answer. Like, I see your point with Maria, but I don't like if I was asked this, like, I don't know if I would have a clear cut who is the biggest threat right now, just because, like, yeah, we have not really seen them do too much. There might be a side to Tim we haven't seen yet. There might be a side to Moriah we haven't seen yet. There might be a side to some of these other tribe members that we just have not seen come out yet. So I think part of the issue that I've had with this season is, like, just because of how much of a focus Janu's had within these first 3-4 episodes, like, it hasn't given us too much time to see these other tribes and figure out, like, what's going on. Uh, and
Yeah,
and
so
for
we're playing
me,
catch up.
exactly, and for me, it's like, we're just making do with what we have there. But the other thing I wanted to say about this sequence before we go into tribal is, I just came away thinking this was the period in time where, Jem, obviously, because she has the beware advantage, she can now go look for the hidden immunity idol. That opens up for
Well,
her
and she
because
has to, or else she will not have a vote at this tribal too.
right, right. So she has access to it now because she is going to tribal. So this was one of those things where I just came away thinking that, what a blunder. Like, I was watching, and I don't usually, like, talk a lot while watching the episode, but I found myself, like, saying, like, oh my god, what are you doing, so many times while watching the sequence with Jem, that, like, I don't understand, like, okay, she's going and looking for her advantage, not communicating it to anyone. And in the off chance that she doesn't find it, she does not have a vote and no one else knows about that. And she's in a vibe tribe, which is pretty trusting of one another. So it's like her strategy, her way of kind of making an action plan about something has made no sense to me.
Oh
It's
yeah, you're
it's like,
absolutely right. If she gets caught, then suddenly, what? You're the person that led us on a wild goose chase? It would be terrible.
yeah, just handicapping herself for no reason. So I just came away thinking that during this entire sequence.
Yeah, and then, like, sure, she's able but, like, the part that's supposed to be difficult about the Beware Advantage search is that because you need to make measurements with the machete, if someone stumbles into you, you'll have to explain why you're just holding a machete for no reason. So that's supposed to be the trick of this. And although it seems she gets through all that without any issues, then later she has she decides to have her strategic conversations now, and like it does feel like oddly aggressive for like your plan is to vote out Ben or Tit. Like you don't even need to talk to them if you don't want to. You could just
Yeah,
do nothing. Um, there's a funny scene with her. She's talking to Ben, but like she's doing it with the machete
with
still,
the
so that
machete.
Ben. So it's like, well, I need to arm myself because he has a hammer. It's just
She
bizarre.
yeah, she just came away looking really desperate in those sequences where she so for the viewers who don't know, like, she then approached Ben and then approached Tim, who are not part of her core group, by the way, and just had a dialogue saying like, "Oh, okay, like I let me know who the vote's going to be and I'll vote with you guys, right? Like I'll like just put a name on it and I'll vote with you guys. I need to know who it is." And she was being aggressive in terms of like saying like, "Oh, like okay, like but like be honest with me. Like tell me what you guys know and then like I'll vote with you guys." Like I don't think that's ever going to be a winning strategy, right? Like we're like now 10 days on the island, so it's like whatever groups have been formed. And like even if you're strangers, that's a weird way to approach someone and like have them just have a dialogue with you. So I'm not sure going into tribal like what she's doing, because we don't actually see her talking to her own core group at any point ahead of tribal.
Yeah, no, we can only assume it's like, all right, it's gonna be Ben, right? Yep, and then move on. Like, um, but you know what? None of that would have mattered if not for we go to tribal council and it's going to turn out that Maria decides to acquiesce to what Charlie wants, which is Charlie does not want it to be Ben, and so she flips and votes with all of them and votes for Jem. And Jem, thinking she's completely safe, doesn't use her idol and blindsided with the idol in her pocket. Disaster for Jem.
Yeah, that's a baby's first right there.
Toddlers first. Give
Yes,
yourself more credit.
toddlers first.
Toddlers
Caught
first. Yeah, I
myself.
didn't do the research on like what types of idol blindsides is this. By the way, in our fantasy league, this gains you points if your players blindside somebody with an idol to get them out. You get extra bonus points for that because it's an impressive thing to do. The guts to vote for someone who has an idol and the skill to trick them into not using their idol. In this case, I don't know that anyone actually did. I mean, Jem was just kind of oblivious, um, but yeah, really, it's seemingly it was Ben and Tim versus Moriah and Jem with Charlie and Maria in the middle. It's just that, um, I wonder what not Hunter, what Tim and Ben thought. I guess they must have known that there's a chance that Charlie can get Maria to vote with them because otherwise they'd be going to a tie. Um,
Well, they
so
were telling the others like when Jem approached them that like, hey, like she's really trying to play the game. Like she's thinking 20 steps ahead without like concerning herself about even how to get there. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what Ben says, and he's
yeah.
absolutely right about that.
Hey, speaking of, I Freudian slipped Hunter right there. Really quickly, Hunter gets to go on actually more than just Hunter. So Hunter, they win, so he goes. Q goes, and
Tim.
Tim goes. And in this case, it turns out it's really just they get to talk, and then one of them is gonna do the challenge to risk their vote. But more importantly, Q decides to tell the three of them, "Hey, I think like we're all going to be threats in the merge whenever that happens. Why don't we have like a cross-tribal alliance and then each of us brings in a plus one to be so it's all balanced, it's all equal, it's fair, and that'll be six of us. The six of us will work well in the future." Um, an ambitious plan, but I mean, the numbers make sense as long as you can get through. I mean, you need six to be the majority whenever the time comes, but that's a future problem. They'll work on that when they get to it.
Yep.
Did you like this?
Absolutely. I appreciate what Q is doing here. I think, like I said, in order to win in Survivor, you need to play a balanced game. Be good at challenges, not necessarily have to win every challenge, but like be competitive, have a good social game, be strategic. And I think this is where we're starting to see Q's strategy shine a little bit more. We saw bits of it too when Bhanu was still around, where he is trying to like coach him, where he understands that if their tribe is weak, they all collectively are going to fall. So he's trying his best to at least make sure that Bhanu is able to stay afloat. And I think this time around, he's looking ahead and saying, okay, like, I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I need to be able to make strong bonds to be able to make it to the end. How do I do that? Forming a majority And I appreciate the fact that they're having these dialogues before they even get into a post-merge setting, so that, okay, once we inevitably get there, we're going to be having these dialogues anyway. We've had this head start that the others don't know about, and we can rein in a group pretty quickly. That could give us a potential advantage that'll work better for us for the second half of the game. So I really like the fact that Q stepped up and did this. For him, things are extra desperate being part of a tribe that's continuously lost every challenge. So, when I'm talking about like the comeback saga, like Q is doing his part to make sure that's happening for the Anu tribe.
And I don't know if Q would have done this no matter who went, but part of what he says is the reason is like we are all stereotypically physical threats that often get targeted in the
Yes.
merge. So why don't we protect each other? It's like I wonder if he still had done this if it was like Venus and Moriah were there. But
I think he would have. I think he would have. He's shown glimpses of trying to have dialogues with people. Obviously, he wouldn't be saying the physical thing, but I think like he would try to leverage the fact that, hey, I'm in an isolated setting with these other two people. Let's see what we can make work here that'll better my game.
Yep, makes sense. The actual challenge, this journey challenge, ends up being only Hunter doing it. He has to order 20 Survivor seasons in chronological order, and what he has is their logo. And obviously, I'm just curious. So you haven't seen that many seasons, so you won't be able to do it. But can you remember the seasons that we've watched on the podcast so far together, or
Yes.
put them in order, the chronological order, not our viewing order, but like in what season they happen?
Yeah. So Cook Islands, which I believe is season 7.
Are you saying that's the first one,
That's the first
earliest?
one that we watched in chronological
Okay,
order.
I'll
And
put it
then
there. All right, you're saying Cook Islands.
what's the other one? Pearl Islands or something? It was like 14, or was it?
We
Wait,
did
hold on.
watch a season called Pearl Islands. That's true.
But I'm wondering if that's before David and Goliath. I would say
We watched it. Yeah.
yes. I'd put Pearl Islands next, then David and Goliath, and then the current season that we're watching, and then season 47, season 48, and then season 49.
Well, F, you've lost your vote. I'm sorry.
Damn
The
it.
answer was Pearl Islands first, then Cook Islands, then David versus Goliath, then 46, 47, 48, 49.
Oh, I mixed up the Pearl. Damn it.
Pearl Islands was season 7, and Cook Islands was season
I called Cook Island. Wow, I should have known that.
4.
But
See, so we can't be so mean to Hunter. It can
no,
happen to everyone.
I wouldn't be. Like I think even if he's a super fan and he didn't know that, and it's Jeff's only asking him to do 20 of them. He's not asking him to do like all the way up until current. Like that would have been an insane challenge.
I think
Um,
his excuse was reasonable. He talked about how his roommate got him into the show, and then similar to our story too.
even if he
And
didn't, even if he watched them in chronological order, like that's kind of hard to like. If you were to do this challenge, you said you watched every season, right? Do you think you would be able to succeed?
I 90% chance of success, but it's not 100%. 90% chance of success. Now, if it
Yeah.
was like 5 years ago, though, it would be almost impossible because like 5 years ago is when I really started like rewatching, which gets me a better idea of in what order things happen.
Mhm.
Um, and then also, by the way, like there's a slight, like these are also like the logos, so like potentially if you mistake what the logo is, you might get messed up. But
Yeah.
I think I'd do well. But that's why my little tag on this podcast isn't Survivor Expert. Our Survivor experts that show up, they can do this in their sleep. Experienced fan that I am, I have a great chance to do it, but it's not a 100% chance I'd be able to do it.
I will tell you, if this challenge was given to me for season 40 onward, then I would be able to do it, no problem.
Oh, you don't say, do you? Season 40, I don't remember if we ever told you, that season does have a subtitle, but
Oh, it
then the rest of
does?
them don't. Yep. But season
Okay.
41 to 49 so far. Actually, and season 50 also has a subtitle. So season 40 has a subtitle, season 50 has a subtitle, but everything in between is just the
Well,
number,
actually,
which is
that's
lame.
probably still really easy process of elimination. You'd be like, oh, it's the first one.
Yeah. But okay, Hunter fails and he has lost his vote. Um, so that's going to be the end of episode 5. Do you have any desire to see Gem try again on a future season?
No, no, she just disappointed me way too much. And this, just as a foreshadowing, is starting to be a pretty common theme in this season. But I'll hold off on those thoughts until we discuss the next episode.
All right. Well, without further ado, so we move on to the episode 6, which was called Cancel Christmas. The main thing here is that everyone's going to find out it's merge time. So it feels early, but I forget that we did watch the first 4 episodes all together. So that's kind of why it feels like it's it's fast. Um, the one thing before not trial, the 2 things before the merge when they all get together is that Moriah was blindsided too in that previous vote for Gem. So she's doing damage control, probably the right thing to do. Like, don't be screaming and yelling. We've seen that before in old seasons where after a vote, like the night after, everyone's just super mad. So I think,
Yeah.
pretending at least that you still want to work with them is probably the right move.
Yep.
And then when the news comes to merge, Hunter, he actually teased this, I think, a couple episodes ago when he found his Beware advantage, but there's a little clause that like you can't get your idol until you lose or the merge happens. So, or more specifically, until everyone's on one beach, I think was the phrase. So he goes off to rush to find, uh, to dig to get the instructions that has a riddle to tell him to go dig for a key. And if he finds that key, then go back to the box and find it all with a supposed 10-minute time limit because when they get told about the merge, it's like in 10 minutes, people will arrive on your camp. So a rushed attempt to find all these things and hope that no one realizes what he's doing.
Yeah, that would be super stressful. And I think the way he played it was really smart. This episode ended up being really good for Hunter in the sense that, yes, based on what we know, he does lose his vote. But ultimately, going through the sequence, he is able to go through his Beware advantage and get his hidden immunity idol and do it without anyone noticing. And while that's happening, he's someone who, okay, he might be seen as a physical challenge threat. And I think even like low key, that might be underselling it. Like he's come out big for his tribe in like a lot of, especially like aiming challenges. But anyways, he's in good footing with his tribe. He's probably not the first target if it were to come to that. So I thought that Hunter could be a good finalist here. I know we discussed that previously. So I just wanted to say this episode made me feel really good about the Hunter pick.
Makes sense. I guess like we have seen in these new era seasons the danger of being like the clear and obvious individual challenge threat. Um, for whatever reason, like as this episode was playing out, that storyline didn't. And there is a reason. We'll get to it. That storyline didn't really seem to take shape. But after he finds that idol, he has it now. He's happy. He has that vote back. Funny enough, it never came up, but so he lost his vote in the previous episode because he failed the journey challenge, and he also didn't have a vote because he hadn't got the Beware idol yet. So he actually was down 2 votes, which I think means nothing in the game mechanics, but it's just funny to think about. He's like doubly lost his vote at whatever his next tribal council is going to be.
Yep.
Um, so now everyone arrives on the same beach. Everyone's happy. Everyone's saying hi to each other, and I think our narrators for this, we get a couple perspectives. We get Tevin's perspective where he wants to put up a good front for like on his behalf for everyone, all the new people, make sure he's connecting with them. We see him hugging them after they get off the boat. Um, so then we'll hear we hear Tevin's perspective a lot. Um, we hear Venus's perspective, who's also she's just eager for there to be new people to talk to because I think she says she's sick of talking to all her current tribes people. So we get that. And then lastly, oh sorry, and then Q's perspective we also get. He eventually just gets sick of everyone getting to know each other. He wants the strategy talk to begin. Um, and which one of those like interests you most, or was there a different merge talk that interested you?
I liked having a blend of what Tevin was doing with what Q was doing. I think it's important to have strategy, but I don't think you do that as a way to like I don't want to be missing having meaningful conversations with people just because I'm focused on win win win. I don't know if those meaningful conversations are going to help my game and help me get further along. So I think what Tevin's doing is, he himself is described as a charismatic person, similar to how Ben is for the Siga tribe. So, what do I need to do? I meet new people who might not be as familiar with me. I need to be a welcoming person. I need to be open. And I need people to be able to trust me and, come across as someone who's approachable. My concern with what Q is doing, while I think it is the right move, is you don't want to come across as you're closed off, giving people a reason to vote for you. So I think you need to find a balance in terms of having those discussions. And I think we had a nice segue for the end of the episode. We got into tribal, and you had mentioned that Hunter, Tim, and Q got together and were able to have a dialogue in terms of the six that they wanted to create. So I think for Q, he's just kind of getting ahead and saying, okay, had that dialogue, need to continue that. I would ease myself into that. I want to make sure that I'm speaking to everyone, getting a feel for everyone, making sure that everyone knows I'm approachable. But then when I get the chance to meet the people that I'm trying to form the core six with, using that to leverage and still have those strategic discussions. Is my concern with Q strategy is, or just don't be really aggressive in implementing that. Just have dialogues with everyone. Don't come across as closed off.
I can tell you that Q wasn't really interested in any of that, but he did want to follow up on his +1 alliance. And actually very that came into play immediately because they were just talking about it the previous day, and now they're on the same beach. So meets back up with Hunter. Um, and by the way, the +1s. So Q told them he would bring in Tiffany, and Hunter said he would bring in Tevin. And so both of like all them are talking, and Tim said he would bring in Maria. So Q goes to talk to Maria, like happy to have you in the alliance type of conversation. But Maria has had no idea this happened, so she's caught off guard, of course, because she wasn't told about it. And it turns out, yeah, Tim just never told her. And so, obviously, this Q is taken aback by this. He does confront Tim about it. Tim, I didn't really truly understand what he's saying. Tim said something about wanting to make sure that Maria uh, was able to make up her own mind on it and then didn't get pressured into it. I don't really know it,
You still need
but
to communicate it to her too. Like, how is she gonna make up her mind about something that hasn't been communicated to her?
yeah, I don't know if this was strategy or is Tim. He just was procrastinating. He was like, "Oh, I'll get to it tomorrow," and then tomorrow it turned out the merge was here.
Yeah, I mean, that was my takeaway. Maybe he wasn't expecting the merge to happen as quickly as it did. He might have thought that, okay, I have time to have a dialogue with her. We might have another tribal in between, so let's see how that goes before I have the dialogue. So I don't know, but it was just it just came across as it might have caught him off guard, or maybe he might not have taken it as seriously as the other two did.
And honestly, maybe the biggest problem is so like Q brings in Tiffany. They are clearly aligned. It is an easy conversation to have. Hunter brings in Tevin, and they are also aligned. They just haven't had to test it that much because they've been winning all the time, but they're aligned. That comes easy. Maybe it's just Tim misread. Like based on the last episode, wouldn't you have thought he would have said Ben?
I would have
versus
thought he would have said Ben,
Slippery.
yeah. But maybe he's getting the sense that Ben is on the chopping block, so I don't know.
Yeah, so it could have just been like a symptom of like he's not really aligned with her, so that would have been a difficult. He'd rather just have vacation. So a little bit shaky there. Uh, for now, no consequences, but that was weird. Next, we go to the immunity challenge, and this is you've seen this in season 48. For season 47, I think I mean you were watching, but by the time we were podcasting about it, it was after the merge. But the earn the merge in the new era is everyone went on the same beach. They get split. Well, first of all, in what it was is that you get split in half, and this is what we saw in this episode.
Yep.
And then it's a team challenge, like a tribal challenge. Whoever wins this challenge has, quote, earned the merge. They literally get their merge buffs. It is treated as if they've all won individual immunity, and they also get to have the feast, and just them. And everybody else does not get a buff. They do not get food, and they are eligible to be voted for. And that night when they go to tribal, the whole group is there and voting, but now you have a like half of them being immune. The version you have seen is that instead of a team challenge, it was an individual challenge, which is actually how it was for pretty much the whole history of the show. And whoever's immune is immune, and everybody else is voting. Um, So yeah, what do you think of? And just so you know, it was this way for most of the new era until you started watching, basically. So, what did you think about this version of Earn the Merge?
I I liked it. I like when you have like randomness to the team dynamics. So like I know we've previously talked about like chaos and like what sort of chaos is good. So I generally do like some form of chaos. I don't want that to be the only thing in the season, but uh just trying to like create a team and like how Jeff did it. I know we were talking about, like this may not necessarily be the two tribes. It's just when they're going into the challenge, the way that they split it up, it ultimately ends up being that because whoever is losing has to go to tribal, and the way that they're split, uh, you could do like you could keep it simple by just like keeping those groups as those groups are. So uh, I don't. I don't have too many thoughts, but I think in just terms of like randomness to the team dynamics, I do like that. Like if you call back like the mutiny stuff, I didn't like that specifically because of how it was implemented. Where someone has a choice to do it. I think if you're trying to set up a team structure, I do like if Jeff is the one calling the shots in terms of how it happens, and his goal is to try to keep it balanced rather than you have any say and you can make it something that no longer is balanced.
I am not a fan of the Earn the Merge, this version of it.
Hmm.
I do like the idea because I like this challenge is more important than other challenges. So I like there being stakes, so that part I like. But the outcome of this is we're all going to tribal, but half of us are immune. That just feels weird to me. And because usually
Yeah,
when everyone's together, it's an individual immunity challenge. One person wins, they have the necklace, and then everybody else is voting for whoever they want to vote for. Like it just seems like a letdown that we're finally all together. We're getting a clash of all of these alliances and tribes, but now half the people aren't even eligible. So like it's like everybody's depowered. This time it turned out that the losers had an even split between Siga and Nami. So it I don't it probably didn't hurt the storyline too bad because it did seem like it was gonna be those two tribes against each other. But um it just takes options off the table for like and I'm not gaining anything. I think
right.
like all the things I might not like in a show, well, if I get them in exchange to have something I do like, then all right, we can talk about it. but like I
Yep.
don't know if I gained anything that I liked in exchange for making it the like changing artificially changing the dynamics. I mean, I have the same thoughts about this as I have about like so many things making people lose votes. Like
Right.
this is I guess gives the same vibes.
I
So
I think it
that's
just
why I don't like it.
I think it just shouldn't be a common thing, but like it's something that I'm sure I would appreciate it if it happens every now and then. And I agree with your point in terms of, like not have like it being weird that like half the tribe is like just not involved. The other tribe essentially is not part of like, like in a previous season, like like we all collectively are able to have a feast and then kind of advance together. I think the aspect I like about how they're doing it is that like every challenge is supposed to be meaningful, right? Like you're supposed to be winning every challenge. It's supposed to matter. Every episode, you can never take your foot off the pedal. I think like as much as it sucks, like the tension, the drama, the challenges like with weather and all that we see in Survivor, that's what makes it Survivor. Like you're there, and no matter how harsh things are supposed to get, to me, like who has the most willpower, who's able to overcome everything. Like the focal point for me over these past couple of episodes has been the Yanu tribe. How are they turning it around when everything around you is crumbling? How are you turning it around? Like how are you able to keep yourself afloat? Because that's what makes for a good story. That's what makes for a good season. That's what makes for an entertaining watch. So
But you know what I would
I
have liked
like
more though? I think I would have liked more. Okay, uh Yano needs to turn it around. How do they leverage their position to make sure that it's the other two tribes facing each other and not them?
right,
Whereas instead, because of the way the groups got split up, actually once they won the challenge, they're not eligible to vote anyway, so they're completely protected, in part because of how the like it due to just the rock draw. It doesn't feel as compelling as just like if it was an individual challenge, let's say Hunter wins, because Hunter wins a lot,
yep,
then uh honestly we might see the same thing play out, but at least then the Yanu the remaining Yanus, they do have to make sure it doesn't turn on them. Like they need to be a little bit more careful
right,
than I think they actually were. So that's all. By
yeah,
the
no,
way,
that's fair.
the split was like a very funny rock draw. So it ends up being uh, Charlie and his many angels, which ends up being uh, hang on, there's a lot of people here. It is Charlie, Liz, Maria, Moriah, Soda, and Venus. So just picture Charlie and most of the women. And then the other team is Ben, Hunter, Q, Tevin, Tim, and Kenzie. Quite a big on the surface looks like big strength disparity here between these two teams. Oh, and then Tiffany draws a gray rock, which means she has no team and she has to pick a team to support, and whatever happens to them happens to her. So of course she chooses the way more physically strong team, the Men and Kenzie.
I will say,
And
I think one thing I would have liked out of this, like if you could make a simple change, is just don't give her a choice. Just keep her out. And whoever does go to tribal and is on the verge of being eliminated, if you're doing a group split, you can keep the teams nice and even by just forcing her to join the tribe that lost a member.
well, remember that actually what you describe has happened, but that's when you're still in the tribe phase. There are no tribes. They were on teams for this challenge, but this is still the merge. So I think your version would just be like she'd be gone. She wouldn't even be at tribal council, and then she just comes back to the group of 12 people at that point. Um, because still everybody voted. There's no like it'd be different if the team that won just didn't go to tribal at all. That would have been a different feel then. I think that
Ah,
has its own
gotcha.
problems too, but that'd be different, right?
But yeah,
Uh,
this ultimately ends up just being a guys versus girls challenge. Um, Once again, they have to go through an obstacle course, dive into some mud. I believe the next segment is there's like a large ball that they have to hop onto, which ultimately ends up once they get onto the ball, they have a bunch of puzzle pieces that they unravel to have the different groups of 2 within the group of 6 work collectively together to then make a puzzle. And the guys do appear to come away with the early lead. The guys plus Kenzie, I should say. And then we start to see the girls start to catch up. They're not lagging far behind throughout any of the challenge. They're doing well to hold their own. And once they get to the puzzle, that's when, like, like the guys get to the puzzle noticeably ahead of the girls. But once I believe it was like what, was it Ben and Q who were doing the puzzle? They really got through their segment really slowly, which ultimately allowed the girls team
I
plus
think it was Ben and
Charlie
Kenzie, right?
Ben and
And
Kenzie,
then
yes,
Q
you're right.
and then Q and Hunter at the end.
Q and Hunter were at the end, yes. You got that right. Ben and Kenzie's segment for that puzzle where it's like they're on this, like, it's essentially a donut where they're covering the outer part of this donut with puzzle pieces. They're trying to complete what ultimately looks like a donut. So the duo that's slow for the guys plus Kenzie team is Ben and Kenzie, and that allows Charlie plus the girls team to catch up and potentially make it neck and neck all the way up until we have Hunter end things off for his tribe, or his team, I should say. And this is what I say, like, low key, like, he is really good in challenges. He is just like quickly getting through the final part of that puzzle and just completes it for the guys team. And that ends up giving us the situation where they all are allowed to go back, eat, and are safe from the vote. In Hunter's case, it works out especially well for him because he doesn't have a vote. And then we're reminded that Tevin, who's his number 1, has 2 votes. So in a sense, it could balance out. Doesn't even really need to mean anything. This is the part of the game where, like, things get really interesting, right? Like, I don't know what were your highlights, Will, but if I was to summarize what I saw happening once the girls plus Charlie team lost, was they had to go back and figure out, okay, whose name is on the chopping block. And this is where we start to see, that core 6 team that Q, Hunter, Tevin, Moriah with a question mark, Tim, and Tiffany were forming. They're trying to figure out, like, okay, like, who do we need to throw out there? Who's the name that each tribe member can throw out, right? And in this case, they're just looking at Siga and Nami, just because Yanu's lost a lot, so they're not
Well, and
they're not.
they are ineligible.
That's
They
true.
all of them are on the winning
They're
so
all on the
because
winning track.
Tiffany guessed right, and then Kenzie and Q are on there. The part you asked what interested me. So there's 2 things. First, the feast, the winners. The awkwardness that happens is that Tevin offers up one of their own. He's like, well, if I had to say stone for my own tribe, it'd be Venus. But then Tim and Ben are very reluctant to do the same in kind. And Tiffany, at least, like, doesn't like that. He's like, well, one tribe was actually willing to make a concession, whereas this other tribe is not really willing to work with us. So what does that tell you? So that, and even though they eventually say Moriah, the damage kind of feels like it's done there. So that's not great. And then afterwards, the momentum has built that it's gonna be Moriah. And actually, Tiffany and Q, they basically Yanu goes to Venus and I think they were trying to do is like, it could have been you, but don't worry, we've made it Moriah. So even though it's not exactly how it played out, but that's feels like a nice thing to tell somebody. Might get them on your side. Venus isn't happy though. She has decided, well, if we're gonna target a Siga, I'm not scared of Moriah. Who's Moriah? But Charlie. Charlie like might be like the strategic strat. And then she follows that up in confessional and then to the other girls. And also, why are we voting on a lady? We should vote on a guy. That's also ends up being part of her calculus.
That was absolutely the highlight for me, and just came across as totally tone deaf from her. She hasn't had much dialogue with Charlie, and immediately signals him as a threat. Not to mention the fact that she's getting indication of, hey, you're one of the people on the bottom, and she's trying to then sway everyone's votes where they might already be decided. And this is a case of you're trying to create chaos where things could be simple. And again, this could be a situation where you're ultimately just shooting yourself in the foot. So it just there's been
And it
so many
almost comes
times.
back on her, right? Because like Q is not happy
Yeah,
about this.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be either if like, she's not she's safe for now based on her understanding. No one's putting her name out there, but she's complicating a situation that could be easy for reasons I personally don't understand. Like if her logic is like girls group, like are we just turning this into a guys versus girls thing? Because like it does, like that's just going to be a weird way to go through the season, right? Like we
And
all
by the
have
way,
tribes.
who's still in the game right now? Mariah, Kenzie, Liz, Maria, Soda, Tiffany, and Venus herself. That's 7. So actually, the girls outnumber the guys right now anyway, even if this was a concern of yours.
But like
Uh,
the thing is, like, you're asking people to just like throw away any bonds they've created previously to just make it a guys versus girls thing. You don't know if the other people are close with the other. So it's like that is a very shallow way of like looking at approaching how to play the game. So like I didn't understand why that was like her reasoning for, like getting it away from Mariah. Like it's just, if you have a valid reason, okay. Like, what is it? Like, and even then it's like, maybe if I'm her, I'd bide my time and try to make concessions about things when maybe I'm not being informed that I'm at the bottom, because ultimately I'm just making myself the clear target in that case. And that's
well,
not
especially
using.
in this
Yeah, go ahead.
specific vote, she's in more danger than usual because instead of it being 12 people are targets and one person's immune, it's 7 people are immune and 6 people are only 6 people target, and you're one of the 6. So if anything, I feel like it's, well, let me just make sure it's not me, and once it's not me, stop, because I don't want to cause trouble. Then maybe next time, you're right. Next time when it's back to like 11 people being vulnerable, then that's when you do something.
I think my takeaway is just that, like, some of the ways that we've seen the Siga and Nami tribe play is just they've gotten way too comfortable with the fact that they have not needed to go to tribal. And this is what's causing them to play and play their social game in a way that it's like they feel like they're safe, right? They could say whatever they want and they're not worried about their name being put out there. Now, this is a person who's being told that your name is being out there, but because maybe she hasn't gone to tribal, she's just not taking it as seriously. So I just thought this was similar to the last episode, a very weird way to handle an action plan about something. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
then
mean, I
we
mean, you probably thought it was going to go the same way as Gem, right? I mean, this is going to get the same story for Venus.
yeah, for me going into tribal, I'm thinking, okay, like there's no way they're not just voting out Venus. Like she's at the bottom of her own tribe. People in that tribe are telling everyone that she's the crack. Then her name is not even out there, and then she's causing complication to the plan that everyone is trying to put out there, which is not even involving her, over something where it's a guys versus girls thing, which it shouldn't be.
But don't worry, the one thing that can save you if you shoot yourself in the foot is somebody else shooting themselves in the foot after
Yeah,
that. Because at tribal council, big people, is what, like 12 or 13 people all here. And the main highlight is that unprompted, Mariah announces to Q, basically it's mostly to Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie, because they're in the middle right now. Just so you know, it was not unanimous last time. In fact, I was blindsided. I am not with them, and I would vote for you. All new information to all of them coming from her.
just utterly like bizarre way to play the game. Like I've not enjoyed this season so far, if I'm being quite honest, just because, once we got out of the Banu saga, and just to conclude what happens in this episode before I get into it, Mariah's actions during Tribal ultimately end up causing the rest of the group to vote for her because Q and her have this little dispute during Tribal where Q correctly mentions that, hey, like, we're all talking after we got together and we're being told one story about like how the Siga tribe has had a near unanimous vote. Now we're hearing a different story from you, but you're saying this at Tribal, like what's up with that? And for Mariah, she's saying it because she's saying that like, oh, okay, I'm trying to just be honest, truthful, and show people what I'm about. It's just the actions make it look like, okay, like you're kind of flip-flopping. Like if you're trying to be honest, it just kind of the way that you did it makes you seem more distrustful. So you're the quick, easy vote out for us. Like, we don't have to worry too much about this. The other person's name was on the chopping block. Like, if they're just staying mum, you're just okay. Like this person kind of outed themselves in a way. So let's just get rid of them. Uh, the thing I was gonna say was that like this season has had very bizarre moments where I've thought multiple times like why does it seem like a lot of people are not actually playing the game, right? Like there's always like a survivor or two where you're like you don't understand what their strategy is. And to be fair to them, like, maybe the way that they're thinking about it when they're on the island, things make sense in their head and the way that they're going through things. And we have a broader perspective, obviously, because we're watching everything and seeing what everyone's doing. So there's a lot of things that we miss out on, which maybe makes things that other people are doing actually make more sense. But at the end of the day, like for Banu, like what is the thing that got him eliminated? His just inability to play the game, his
Yeah, what
inability
did
to keep things to himself. What got Gemma eliminated? Her like not what someone else did, the fact that she herself went ahead and got aggressive and is playing the game and she's in a safe position. She's in a safe position with her group. She's in a safe position because she now has a hidden immunity idol. But the way that she's playing is like really dangerous, coming up with a plan that could get her caught, uh, not really having a dialogue with people who ultimately, based on what we see, would probably work with her and be trusting towards her. She did not leverage that. And
in
then
other
what are
words,
we
you're
seeing?
tired of self-destructs. Jelinski, self-destruct.
Exactly.
Jess AFK, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Randon,
It,
you're forgiven because you are medevaced. Banu,
Brandon doesn't even count,
self-destruct.
but like, yeah, it seems like
Mariah,
everyone has
self-destruct,
been just
then
shooting themselves in the foot for no
Gem,
reason.
self-destruct. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can totally see that. I can totally see. So, what do you need to see going forward to turn this? You basically seen four self-destructs, one AFK death, and then medivac so far.
We're about to
So,
see it with Venus next too. She's also essentially self-destructing. But like, what I would like to see is I'm not at this point expecting the people who are self-destructing or have those tendencies to change the way they're playing the game. It's kind of a little too late for that, especially as you're getting into post-merge and people are talking. But what I've been looking forward to seeing is once that strategy comes into play more. That's why I really like what Q is doing, where he's being very observant. He's asking questions, and other people are noticing that, yeah, he's really trying to play the game. But unlike with Gem, he's doing it with people and he's actually having dialogues with people. Like he's working with people. He's trying to form the bonds. He's not trying to do everything alone and blindside and do things behind people's backs. So the thing that'll turn this season around for me is if we see the game actually being played. If we see people if they get eliminated just because like it just didn't work out for them, rather than something that they might have misspoke, or maybe that they just didn't do anything to help themselves, or maybe that they gave up on something. I would like to see Survivor the way that we've seen in seasons in the past, where people go in, give it their all, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and it's nothing to do with them. It's just other people might have stronger bonds or people that they're trusting of that causes them to be eliminated just due to process of elimination. So for me, it's just, the key thing is meaningful dialogue and just strategy along what you're doing. moving forward, and I'm at least hopeful that we're getting there once we get into post merge.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because you actually don't know why I even picked out the season at all. So, I mean, did I intentionally bring you just a wild season where nothing makes sense? Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Um, to wrap it up though, after last episode, you selected Hunter and Ben as your winner picks. As you know, you can, after every episode, you can choose to switch, but if you switch from them, you can never go back. But if they're voted out, then you've just lost them entirely and you've lost a slot. So, will you be changing from either Hunter or Ben?
I think I do see some risks with both of these two, but it's not like new risks that I didn't see the last time we were discussing these. So I would stick with these two for now. Especially Hunter. I think I have a good feeling about Hunter, and I mean, obviously, part of that is because he has a hidden immunity idol, but they're both people who at least work on maintaining relationships and creating those bonds. We see that Ben could have been targeted, but he wasn't. So, and in Hunter's case, he's continuing to play a strong game. The concern with him becomes, is he standing out too much? And so far, at least based on what we've seen, I don't think it's too concerning right now.
All right, all right. We'll see how they do in the next couple episodes. Anything else you need to get off your chest?
I'm hoping for a better second half to this season because ultimately, if this season ended today, this would probably be the worst season that I've watched so far.
On track for the worst season. Bold words, but we'll see where it goes. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Island Life. And tune in next week as we react to episodes 7 and 8. Until then, and until we speak again, ciao.